الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we began to understand the wisdom and the benefits of the beliefs of Islam, the aqaid of Islam. Last Friday, I spoke about Iman bil Ghaib, and I explained to you that Iman bil Ghaib is the first step required for any other beliefs in Islam. Because all the other beliefs of Islam, we cannot actually understand without believing in ghaib, things that we cannot see, things that we cannot somehow study and experience and find out. Today is the second most important first belief of Islam, which is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I mentioned, Iman Billah is the first and primary requirement of Islam. And Iman bil Ghaib is a precursor to believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As in spite of every mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, scientific studies or wisdom or intelligence, we are unable to truly understand even if there is Allah. And this question is raised by our youngsters and others very often these days. I don't really know if there's Allah. How do we know if there's Allah? Well, His existence, Allah's existence, can only be deduced from reflecting in His signs within us and around us. There is no other way. And for that, you are required to believe in ghaib. If you don't believe in ghaib, you won't go the next step. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has repeatedly brought to our attention all of His signs and encourages us to reflect and ponder on them. Pay attention to this verse of Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والفلك التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون. In the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of the night and the day, in the ships that sail the oceans for the benefits of mankind, in the water that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down from the sky and revives the earth with it after it had died, and scatters in it all kinds of creatures, in the changing of the winds and the clouds disposed between the sky and the earth are signs for people who understand. This is just one verse that I mentioned. Quran contains many of these verses, Allah pointing to His signs and inviting us, almost compelling us to think about them. And He required wisdom, people who want to think, people who want to understand, people who have any intelligence and wisdom. But signs of what? The verse that I just read, and there are all these signs. Signs of what? What is Allah Ta'ala pointing out to us? That there is a creator, there's a planner, and a sustainer of all that exists. Once we are convinced that there is a God, then we need to make a humble effort to understand what it means to believe in Allah. The belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the existence of the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is totally, completely based on accepting the fact that there is a creator and accepting the fact that that creator is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. You know, those of you who have studied science, and especially the biological sciences, metaphysical sciences, philosophies about human existence, you would know that all of these studies come to a point where they admit we do not know beyond this. We know, they would say, that matter existed. Matter always existed. Time existed. But the question comes in, where did the matter come from? They always, whatever studies they do and try to do everything, they would always come to a point where they would not have a final answer. Where did matter come from? And how did it function if it was there? Matter being a non-thinking thing brought to existence all of these things which are meaningful, systematic, and serve the purpose. But they were still acceptable. No. Matter did all the things. The matter was there. And it's the collision of the planets and whatever not that brought into existence whatever we exist. But they will not accept that there is a creator who created everything, including the matter, with a plan. You see, my dear brothers and sisters, when a person decides to build a house, just bringing all the material that is required to build a house does not automatically build a house, am I right? You can bring all the material that would be needed to build a house, but it would not be built by itself. There would have to be a person who would actually draw up a plan. What would this house look like? What purpose will it serve? How many rooms will be there? What those rooms will be for? How should it be designed so that everything fit perfectly? You know, these people are called architects, the planners. Before even starting to build the house, even if all the material is there has to be a plan in place before the house can be constructed. Like I mentioned, all those materials could not themselves put themselves together and build a meaningful house. Subhanallah. If even a child understands this, even if a child understands this, who has ability to think and understand, will have no question after that there is a creator. Subhanallah, yet our young people, it makes me so sad when I deal with these young people in their mid-teens, early adulthood, and they say, I don't believe in Allah. How do I know there's Allah? There's no proof that there's Allah. It truly makes me sad. And these are born Muslim children. Why is it that they don't know this? Because the parents never bothered to understand this themselves. We were just taught to believe in Allah. Okay, we believe in Allah. But we never paid in attention, what does that mean? Who is Allah? How do I understand Allah? This lack of knowledge and information and understanding about what is Allah causes all kinds of confusions and problems when we begin to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, it is, if you have children, my dear brothers and sisters, please understand. If you have children, if your relatives have children, if your children have children, it is your responsibility to teach them this knowledge. Because if you don't and they go astray, you would be held accountable. I would be held accountable. So once we understand and we're convinced that there is a God, there has to be a God, then we have to make a humble effort to understand what it means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Allah? How can we understand Him better so that we no longer become confused and remain vulnerable to all these doubts that are being thrown at us about Allah's doings and our doings? We begin to, because we don't understand it, we begin to assume Allah's doing as our doing, like we do things like He does things. No, He doesn't. We need to understand how Allah does things and how we do things, and they're not the same. We can only fully benefit from this aqidah after this understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His mercy, did not leave it to us to figure out all about Him. Over and over in the Holy Quran, He tells us about Himself and helps us understand Him. Let's begin with this small and most comprehensive surah that helps us understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم. Say, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He is Allah, the One, the Indivisible, the Sustainer, needed by all. He had never had any offsprings, nor he was born, and there's none comparable to Him. Very beautiful small surah that leads us into thinking about understanding what Allah is all about. In light of this beautiful surah, let us begin to understand our beloved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This topic, Iman Billah, is a very significant topic. It is not going to be finished today. We're going to take it step by step so that we totally understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any doubts in our mind, and any questions that you have can be answered. So please feel free to ask questions if you have any. Don't go home thinking I should have asked this, because your children will ask them those questions to you if you don't understand. Number one, Inna Allaha wahidun la sharika lah. Indeed, Allah is one, without any associates, without any partners. What is the benefits of this just one first trait of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I will explain the benefits and wisdom of every one of these traits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I will discuss. Inna Allaha wahidun la sharika lah. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, without any associates and partners. What are the benefits of this small part of the belief in Iman Billah? Number one, He is the only one worthy of worship. He is the only one that we can turn to and should depend upon for guidance and help. Number three, that He has no associates. We don't need somebody else to go through Him, to go to Him. There are no intercessors There are no associates, there are no partners that we can use to go to Him. Allah's relationship with us is a direct relationship. Others cannot, and will never be able to come to our aid. Number five, the Muslim Ummah collectively and individually suffering today. Why? Because we have put our faith and hope in others like us, especially enemies of Islam, to help and guide us and to protect us and to bring peace. We are seeing this happening right now. We are turning to other human beings like us, clearly not those who love us, who love our faith, clearly who are enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Islam and Muslims. Why? Why is that? Perhaps we no longer are convinced that Allah alone can remove our miseries and bring us victory and peace and restore our honor. Perhaps we don't believe this anymore. This is something really important to think about. Do we today, Muslims at large, governments of Muslim countries at large, don't truly believe that Allah is able to protect us? That He is alone that can bring us our honor back. This is He alone that lead us to victory and back to restore our honor. Do we truly believe that? You know, I've been listening to all these great speeches in the United Nations. Some of you may be listening to them as well. Big words. And did you listen to the last speech yesterday, today from the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, I can never pronounce his name. Shut up. He very clearly said, we will not leave any of these barbarians to have a state. And no other words, very clear. We will not leave any barbarians to live in that state and have a state of their own. It's going to be a greater Israel. And you know what? How many of the Muslim leaders, non-Muslim leaders, think of us as barbarians? Open your eyes. Even so, all the Muslim leaders who made speeches and great speeches, I listened to some of them, not all of them. What good is it? What good are those speeches? Because they are begging to United Nations. Am I right? They are begging to United Nations to do something about it. And United Nations is overpowered by the veto powers of Western governments. Correct? Last 70, 80, 90 years, every resolution that United Nations passed against Israel was vetoed by America. And yet, we just keep going back to United Nations. I asked, why? You know, the ship that sailed to the coast of Israel to bring food and help for the suffering Muslims, people of Gaza. Lots of these people were not Muslims. And when drones attacked them from Israel, guess who went to protect them? Not a Muslim country. Who sent a ship to protect them? Not a Muslim country. And I'm asking, why not? Why not? Why isn't a Muslim country taking the initiative to sending their ship? Say, we are going to protect you. Why not? This is a very interesting question. We cannot neglect it. We must answer this question ourselves. La ilaha illallah. Let's go to the next of the traits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا شَيْءَ مِثْلُهُ وَلَا شَيْءَ مِثْلُهُ. And there's nothing like him. This part of the belief, there's nothing like him. What are the benefits of it? Number one, this is very important. We can never compare him to anything else he has created. He is not like any of his creations. For he does not have a material body. How can you compare a being that does not have material bodies with those who have material bodies? It's a simple logic. It's a simple rational thinking. We can never compare him to us and how we operate. Therefore, number two, we can never deal with him and communicate with him like we deal and communicate with each other. For example, we talk to each other, the brother is listening to me, I ask him a question, he gives me a quick response. Am I right? This is how we communicate. We get an immediate response back from the person we are communicating with. This cannot happen when we talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This cannot happen when we are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understanding this will protect our iman and leave us of all the doubts about if Allah is there and listening to us. I have mentioned so many times people who are going through some hardships. And you know, we are all going through individually and collectively as an ummah through major tests and turbulences, major hardships. Am I right? Every single one of us. Within our homes, within our community, and globally. People say, we have been making du'as. People have been, in the entire world, pious people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, true believers, are making so many du'as. Allah is not listening to us. Why? Why is Allah, if there is one, allowing these things to happen? I told you an incident a few weeks before when I was at a gathering and this brother was sitting next to me. And he's not a young guy. He's in his, for sure, late 60s, early 70s. And he says, Dr. Sadiq, I'm so depressed day after day looking after all the images of what's happening in Palestine and Gaza, in other parts of the world. Where is Allah? And I said to the brother, I says, what do you mean, where is Allah? He said, why isn't he stopping? Isn't he a just being? Yes, he is. Is he not seeing how the believers are being tortured, suffered, killed? Yes, he's seeing. Why doesn't he stop them? I said, what do you want him to do? What would you like him to do? Send armies of angels to fight Jews and stop them? Has it ever happened? He got very frustrated. He says, I don't need an Allah like this. This is a real thing I'm talking about. This is why it is important to understand this part of the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not like us. You cannot communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and expect the response back like when you communicate to each other. Let's go to the next one. وَلَا شَيْءَ يُعْجِزُهُ وَلَا شَيْءَ يُعْجِزُهُ. There's nothing that can incapacitate and weaken him. There are two reasons why someone become incapacitated, not able, weak. Number one, that he has become weak and incapable of, he's not capable anymore. A person who got into an accident, lost both his feet, is incapable of walking anymore, is incapable of doing things for himself. Number two, that he does not have the knowledge. He doesn't know. And my dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above and beyond these limitations. Listen to this verse of Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَانُوا أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعْجِزَهُ مَنْ فِي الشَّيْءِ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَلِيمًا قَدِيرًا. Subhanallah. Have they not traveled through the land and saw the fate of those who preceded them? They were superior to them in strength. But nothing can defeat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens or on earth. He is indeed all-knowing and all-powerful. What are the benefits of this belief? Number one, very important one. This belief reassures us that no power in this world can incapacitate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make him powerless. Correct? Number two, if it seems to us that Allah is not doing anything about all the injustices going on in this world for a long time, and then it makes us think, has Allah become unable or incapable? Is Allah not aware of these injustices? Or has He lost His power and has become weak? Is He no longer all-knowing and all-powerful? And these questions compel us to look at our own selves, to how we have made ourselves powerless and weak by turning our backs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how we have given into the powers of some evil, selfish and self-serving leaders of the present world. Am I right? It must make us reflect on ourselves rather than getting confused about if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is no longer capable. That these powers of the world have made him weak and incapable. He's no longer all powerful and all knowing. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. You see, every part of this belief has great wisdom and lesson in it. Let me go one more. وَلَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ. And there's no God worthy of worship but Him. Listen to this verse of Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَلَا تَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ لَهُ الْحُكْمُ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. صدق الله العظيم. And do not invoke any God besides Allah. There is no God but Him. All will perish but He. To Him belong the command, the final command, and to Him you will be returned. Let's look at the benefits of this part of the word Iman. Number one, indeed there is no one else worthy of worship. And worship means what? Worship means total devotion and showing your affection, respect, and loyalty to someone. That's what worship is. Number two, it makes us think, are we truly devoted and loyal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What are we devoted to? And who are we loyal to? Are we only loyal to our money, our businesses, our interests, our power, our status? Are we only devoted and loyal to those things? Then those are the things we worship. Because that's what worship means. These 5-time prayers is just a tradition. We go out of there and the only thing we worry about how my business will suffer. With all these things going on economically in the world, all these restrictions put on the world about, what you can import, what you can export, all these embargoes. How is my business going to hurt from this? How is my interest going to hurt from this? What can I do to save this? That's what we worry about. Number three, realizing no one else can and will protect us, provide for us, or take responsibility to sustain and safeguard it but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number four, and ultimately, all of those who appear so powerful and so controlling will perish, like those that were perished before. Now, all those powerful kingdoms, did they survive? They all perished. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar kabir. Ultimately, all of those who appear so powerful and so controlling will perish, will be destroyed. And the sovereignty only will remain for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number five, and at the end, all of us will be returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what? To be accountable for our deeds and face justice. That's why there's a day of judgment. And number six, therefore, should we not wake up to this reality and turn back to the one and only God, devote ourselves to Him and remain loyal to Him. My dear brothers and sisters, Iman Billah is the key of Iman. We need to learn it ourselves and we need to teach our children about this. It is never too late, but we need to open our eyes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the wisdom to really take this to heart, reflect on it, and change ourselves and devote ourselves totally to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that's when we will stop, inshallah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه. سبحان ربي العلي على البحار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم توفنا مسلمين والحقنا بالصالحين غير خزايا ولا مفتونين. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اللهم اغفر لأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحم أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أصلح أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تجاوز عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم انصرهم، اللهم احفظهم في كل مكان بكل سلام. صلى الله تعالى على خيره محمد وآله أجمعين. Questions?